Chapter 13. Tests on the 17th day after admission showed no change in the different sizes of the patient's pupils. This, plus continued spastic twitching in her legs, caused concern that there could be damage to frontal areas of the brain. Ryan. I expected to be scared. I wasn't. I was bloody terrified. We walked along the corridor, Brittany striding ahead of me. Her head was up and her neck stiff. I saw the parting in her fair hair and remembered that other, brown-haired head swinging as it turned to face me. The door to Tara's room was slightly open. A screen stood behind it. The curtains were closed, so everything was dim and green-coloured, like stepping into a place under the sea. They're trying to keep things restful and quiet, Mr. Gower pushed open the door. Ahead of me, Brittany's shoulders lifted as she took a deep breath. I did the same, and in we went. Tara. Voices had been talking. I couldn't tell how long ago. There was something soft in my hand. I wanted to turn my head and look at it. Ryan. Tubes and machines. Tubes everywhere. One up her nose, another in her arm, one, oh shit, leading into her throat. In a corner of the room, screens like little TV sets glowed. Coloured lines ran or pulsed across them, red, green, blue. Heart, read the words beside the green line, blood pressure and oxygen beside the red and blue ones. I didn't have time to read the others. Beside the bed stood a tall white stand with plastic bags full of liquid hanging from it, leading to the tubes in her nose and arm. She lay among it like an animal in a laboratory. She was on her back, head raised slightly, eyes shut. She looked skinnier than I remembered. I suppose they could only feed her liquids. Her hair was brushed back. No, I jerked as I saw. It had been shaved off above her forehead on one side. There was a patch where something had been stuck to the skin. That whole part of her head was a mass of greeny-yellow bruising. Above the bed, dozens of paper dolls and cards were hung where she could see them if she ever saw. Someone had slipped a fluffy dog toy under her right hand where it lay outside the covers. Ash had mentioned some Chinese guy. Beside me, Brittany breathed in little gasps. I couldn't make a sound. Tara's mother sat at the head of the bed. She was taking cream out of a jar and stroking it gently on the girl's neck. I felt like some pervert watching through a bedroom window, and I stared at the floor. Mrs. Gower murmured in her daughter's ear, "Tara, love, Brittany's here again, and Ryan. You don't know Ryan, but he wants you to get better. You might want to talk to him later." Nah, she wouldn't ever want to talk to a shit like me. Brittany didn't say anything, but I knew she thought the same. Tara. Someone was speaking. Someone I knew, saying names. I wanted to see. I was way down in the dark, but I wanted to see. Ryan. Hi, Tara. Brittany's voice wobbled. She got out a few sentences about their summer league netball team and someone called Miss Gilchrist, and how they all reckoned it was time Tara was back playing for them, even if she did drop passes. The Rockets aren't firing without you, she managed to say, then stood there swallowing. So she, Brittany, belonged to some team called Rockets. Maybe that's why she was always blazing off. Mrs. Gower looked at me as if she was waiting for me to speak. I shook my head. How is she today, Mrs. G? Brittany had got her voice back to something like normal. Tara's mother gave a nod. She's coming along, aren't you, love? She stroked the still figure's cheek. Her own face was haggard. She didn't look as if she believed her words. It's early days yet. We're in no hurry, are we, honey? No sound from the girl on the bed. I remembered that magazine article about the other girl with the head injury and how she'd taken months to... Then I saw something. My eyes fixed and my throat locked tight. Brittany was talking to Mrs. Gower. Is there anything I can bring next time? Anything you'd like me to do? Tara's mother shook her head. Thanks, Britt. Just keep coming. Let her feel that people are here. I'm helping with the physio, moving her arms and legs. You can... But then my throat unlocked and I stopped them. Look! Look at... Her eyes are open! After damage to the brain, the whole nervous system may be thrown into a state of trauma, which depresses brain activity. As the shock wears off, activity patterns may reappear. Anything that stimulates a recovery should be encouraged. Ryan. Both her eyes were open, flickering, half closing, twitching open again. They weren't seeing anything, I knew that straight away. For a second, they seemed to stare at me. Then their lids started to sink shut again. Tara, love? Darling, it's me. Mrs. Gower was stooped over the bed, face almost touching her daughter's. Mr. G had stepped forward and was bending over too, tense as a stretched wire. Tara? The eyelids jerked apart for a second, then closed again. Tara? Darling, Tara? Mrs. G's knuckles went up to her mouth. Her husband put his arms around her. A nurse bustled into the room, plump and blonde and smiling. Time for Tara to have her wash. You want to help with that again, Sally? Mrs. Gower's voice rasped. She opened her eyes for about 4-5 seconds. She opened her eyes. The nurse kept smiling. That's good. Doctor will be pleased to hear that. She turned to Brittany and me. We'll have to shoo you lot out now. Bloody idiot. Didn't she realise what had just happened? We walked back down the corridor to reception, saying nothing. It was the longest silence I'd heard from Brittany, and I was grateful for it. Tara. I felt my eyes strain and move. There was light and colour, all blurred and swimmy. The voices stopped. Had I made a mistake? Was I in the wrong place? Why didn't Mum or Dad tell me something? It was all too much. The voices started again, but I couldn't be bothered. I gave up.